All right, guys, first video I'm putting up on this channel, and really what prompted me to do it are several things, but for this particular video, I've been reading on Reddit's personal finance. I've been watching a few other YouTubers. Most of them suggest to invest in index funds, whether it's mutual funds or ETFs, which is great advice. And they always talk about how to do it for the long term, and that the overall rate of return is going to be better over the long run. And that is absolutely correct. But there is one big problem that isn't mentioned by these, generally not mentioned by these articles, by these YouTubers, or even professional financial advisors. So that's what we're going to cover today, and I'm going to show you the problem and going to show you some ways to find solutions. It's going to be a two-part video. So in the first one, we're going to talk about the problem, and then in the second one, we're going to talk about how you can really do it yourself, because that's really the purpose of all of this entire channel, is to empower you as an individual to do your own investing, your own financial planning, or to check up on what your personal financial advisor is doing. Now let's talk about qualifications. You can just listen to some guy on YouTube, but obviously you don't know who I am, what I do. I've been working in the financial industry since before I graduated college. Got my Series 7 license, which is your kind of investment stockbroker license, back in December of 2005. And I'm now a certified financial planner. Hold on. CFA Institute, Chartered Financial Analyst. Took a few years, a few tests, a lot of studying. What's the other one? Most any article you read, what's it going to tell you when you're hiring a financial advisor? Make sure they have a CFP, they're Certified Financial Planner. Got one of those too. So there we go. All right, get out of here. All right, so, and I've worked as an investment advisor, financial planner, again, for about 15 years. We talked about in the introduction, and it prompted this video, is the recommendation to put your money into index funds. And frequently you hear, okay, just put it in the all-stock fund or something like that. And, recently, great news, or great advice. If we look since the market bottom in March 9th of 2009, the end of the Great Recession is what they called it. Let's see here. The S&P 500, the U.S. stock market. I'm trying not to be technical here and use all the jargon because it's really bullshit. The U.S. stock market's up about 410%. So you put in, now 10 grand, and it's worth 50 grand. Nice. If you invested in Google, it's up 681%, Apple 1,833%, Netflix 5,241%. And I saw this, I've seen this a lot in clients' accounts where they've had these stocks for 5, 7, 8, 10 years, and they think they're doing great, and they are. They've done very well if they pick those particular stocks. The problem is, it's not if a recession is going to come. It's not if the market's going to go down at some point. It's when. What it's about is risk tolerance. Again, one of those industry words that really doesn't mean anything to anyone. What it's supposed to indicate is when things go bad in the stock market for a temporary period of time. So during this long-term period, somewhere in the middle and probably a few times, things are going to go bad like they did in 2008, 2009. Can you stomach it? Can you sleep at night? Can you stick it out in those particular investments that have been suggested and that you may currently be in? And I found that a lot of clients I had prior to the financial crisis thought they could, thought they would, and did not. And essentially got out of the market and waited until things got better. Now, that may sound like a good strategy, but here's the thing. Once things are better, stock prices already reflect that. So in other words, if I wait for things to go better, then, say the U.S. stock market comes up here, goes down here during the next recession. If I wait until things get better, guess what? Investors already know that things are better. So if I get back in up here, I miss all of this gain. So that's the problem. Now, so I went with one of the most popular robo-advisors out there. Won't mention them by name. Not looking to invite any kind of cease and desist letters or lawsuits, because all of these companies are very protective of their business and their reputation. But I answered a couple of questions, and it tells me, well, here's what you need to invest in: 90% stocks, 10% bonds. Over the long run, great idea. But what is the risk involved? In other words, the potential downturn. And can I stomach that? Can I sleep through it? And guess what? Despite knowing all the things I know, having all the experience I have, I'm still human. I still have emotions. I'm not a computer. So is that appropriate for me? And I would tell you, probably not. So let's put some numbers on this. So I put together a portfolio. Basically, you put 1/3 into U.S. stock, 1/3 international, and 1/3 into small cap. This is large cap mainly. In other words, big companies, smaller companies. This is also U.S. If you had invested in September of 03, or call it October 1st of 03, and you had put in, call it $100,000. Now, why am I using $100,000? Why not 1,000? Why not 10,000? If you lose 30% on 100,000, that's $30,000. You can kind of, if you're imagining things, you can feel it a little bit more. So what would have happened over time? Well, up until, let's say, November of 07, the 100% stock portfolio would have gone up to $191,000. So this is 100% stock. The portfolio recommended to me by one of the robo-advisors, 90% stock, 10% bonds. Where would that have gotten to? That would have gotten to $183,000. And then the most conservative 80/20 would have gotten us to, let's see here, $174,000. It's obviously not to scale, but you get the idea. Now this sounds good so far, right? 4 years, you almost doubled your money in every case. But what happens then? Well, by the beginning of March of 09, which again was the market bottom, the most aggressive portfolio would have dropped down to 90,000. The most conservative that was recommended to me would have dropped down to 98,000. Now, the first observation is, well, not quite 6 years, maybe 5.5 years, and my money, my 100,000 has basically not grown and it's shrunk a little bit. But another way to look at it is, what if you had invested $191,000 in November of 07? There would have been no way of knowing the market's about to go down and be one of the worst, or the worst, since the Great Depression. That $191,000 would have turned into $90,000. That means you lost $101,000. All right, so what's the point? Well, the point is, despite what I just showed you, this does actually work. It is a good suggestion if you're a robot, or just computer, emotionless, don't have to worry about anything, don't ever look at your statements. The portfolio that would have lost $101,000 in the span of about a year and a half on a $191,000 investment, or at least a high of $191,000, today it would be worth $356,000. So on your initial $100,000 investment back in the end of 2003, you would now have $356,000. That's if you could hang on to the investment through that huge downturn where one statement says 191,000 and then a year and a half later it says 90,000. I don't know a lot of people that can handle that. I do have some clients that can. The fact is, again, we're not computers, we're not machines. We have emotions, and I know that if I saw that statement, I'd be very concerned, especially if I wasn't an investment professional. So the question to ask ourselves is, yes, in theory, using all the science, all the math, yes, 100% stock is the right way to go. But the question is this aggressive of an asset allocation? There's another one of those industry words. In other words, your mix of investments, what they're invested in. Is it the right mix? And the key to answering that question that the industry has come up with are risk tolerance questionnaires, where they ask you a series 5, 10, 12, 20 questions. But those have been proven not to work. And I'm going to link an article at the bottom that kind of explains that. But I think the best way to do it is to stress test it. Now, the system that I generated all this information from, I look to see if there's a way to give everybody access, and there really isn't. But in the next video, we're going to cover a way that you can do it. It's quite easy. The other thing is, it's going to let you do it yourself. And when you do it yourself, just like when you mow your own lawn or you wash your own car, you're going to save some money because you don't have to pay a professional. All right, so we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. If you want to be updated when the second video of this comes out, hit subscribe. If this video was helpful, hit like.